Okay, so really quick, this is my fourth time trying to record this because I'm just stupid. If you look at these two fruits, can you immediately tell a difference on the content of what is in these fruits? Probably not, right? If I were to ask you which one of these is the organic fruit, would you be able to tell me which one it is just instantly without even having to think twice? Probably not, because I definitely can. Okay, so the point I'm trying to make here is that there are factors, things in our food that we cannot see, but they're still there. Just because we can't see it doesn't mean it's not there. And unfortunately, in today's society, seeing is believing. So if we can't see something, it's a lot harder for us to wrap our minds around it. And I want to talk about in this video the number one most overlooked factor in the health sphere in general. And that is the topic of these unseen chemicals, additives, and preservatives. So these chemicals that have been created to be introduced in our food supply, mainly in processed and fast foods, these are toxic compounds that have been created in a lab. They're completely artificial, and they've been pumped into the food to extend shelf life, to make ingredients cheaper, and to increase palatability and flavor of foods. The health is nowhere in the equation. These companies couldn't care less about what the long-term impacts are on your health. It's our responsibility to know what's in these foods, seek out the information, and try to avoid them to the best of our ability. So specifically, the reason I'm making this is because calories are the number one predominant factor that is focused on in today's society when it comes to food and what foods are considered healthy and not. Just looking at calories, there's a lot of problems with that, right? We don't get a whole big picture view of what's in our food. And these chemicals that have been added really under the radar, no one really talks about them. If you go to a doctor or nutritionist office, chances are they're not going to tell you, watch out for the chemicals in the food, right? They're going to tell you, eat lower fat, eat less calories, eat this, not that. A lot of the times they'll even say eat diet sodas instead of regular sodas. The diet sodas are filled with artificial sweeteners, sodium benzoate, this caramel coloring, all this nasty toxic stuff. But just because they have less calories, they automatically become okay. And my point is that people, we have to look at the content of what's in the food. If there's tons of chemicals and preservatives that are known as carcinogens that attack and destroy our cells, especially our nervous system and our organs over time, and these store in our bodies, in our fat tissue mostly, in our muscle as well. Us knowing, even our fruits, they won't say try to shop organic over conventional, even though it would be common sense to try and shop organic whenever you can afford it, or maybe cut corners in other aspects of your life so that you can afford organic, because I think in the long term it's pretty important to keep these toxic pesticides out as much as we can, to the best of our ability, rather. No one talks about the chemicals in the food, really. Not in conventional nutrition anyway, right? I mean, these things have really flown under the radar, and it kind of makes me angry because the chemicals are much worse than the actual calories. You could eat 20 organic bananas and 2 small McDonald's French fries, and the French fries, I bet, would be a lot more damaging than the 20 bananas. Even though you overate bananas, you ate way more than you needed, and that might store a little bit as fat. But those McDonald's French fries have all these toxic chemicals and preservatives in them that are going to damage your cells. There's no really nutritive value. That it's a lose-lose, really. I'm not saying eat 20 bananas in one sitting. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just trying to set an example to help prove a point. These chemicals are just slipping through the radar. They're in tons of processed foods. They're everywhere. They're very hard to avoid. But I really implore you to look more closely at what's in the food. Try to avoid these chemicals at all costs because they are proven to be deleterious to our health. They destroy our cells, cause inflammation, reactive oxygen damage. All this fancy sciencey jargon for it is slowly killing us, and we need to be really, really cautious and wary when we're eating a lot of these fast foods and these processed box foods that have tons of chemicals. My rule of thumb is usually if I can't count the ingredients with my fingers, then that's too many ingredients. I'm not gonna get something with a laundry list of ingredients in it, and not often anyway. Maybe once a week tops if you want to indulge in something. But you can also find healthier indulgences that are very similar, but they don't have the preservatives, right? So it's a lot of being conscious and aware of where these preservatives are in the market and trying to avoid them just because we know where they are. The chemicals are actually worse for our health than the calories themselves, right? It'd be better to eat a high fat thing of peanut butter that's organic rather than a low fat thing of yogurt that has tons of just nasty bacterias, preservatives, antibiotics, chemicals, all these nasty, unnatural things that are in a lot of foods that are processed. So just watch what you're eating, read ingredient labels. Just, yeah, that's about it. Thanks for watching. Bye.